Greetings, folk. Hello. First of all, Barry Sheen, new Patreon. Thank you very much. Okay. We're going to look at some mathematical proof that the mathematics that support the globe are false, flawed, not just inexact, but unjust and unjustified. So let me just line my windows up. Literally unjustifiable. As a rule of thumb, not even then are they justifiable. They are just a rationalization. So let me go through. And I have Paul Streeter. Not Paul Streeter, apologies, Jerry Streeter. Paulster X to thank for this. The poor dim. Okay, let me get my window sorted. Okay, in the last hangout we watched how in this image we have the entirety of the Rogers Center. I'm going to play it without the audio, and this is me taking the image and uncompressing it. The fact that I'm uncompressing it doesn't mean that the Rogers Center is not visible. It means it was visibly compressed. And later, when I take the image on the right and compress that image, we see the Rogers Center reaches the same height as the previous image. So both uncompressing an image shows you, yes, we do see the entirety of the Rogers Center, and compressing the image, where we can clearly see the Rogers Center, shows us that, yes, we still see the Rogers Center. Okay? Let me just move ahead a little bit to where, there you go, there's the Rogers Center, that dome on the right. When you compress that image, you see the Rogers Center as you saw it previously in the previous compressed image. Watch. Just moving ahead, in case you didn't see it already. There you go. Okay, that's what happens when you compress the image on the right. We can see the entirety of the Rogers Center. This is the important part. Now, This is an angular size calculator. I've set the height or the size of the Rogers Centre as 95 metres. I kept working with a 93 metre figure that I got from somewhere, but it turns out, oh look, what's the height of the Rogers Centre? 86 metres. Oh, is it? Let's scroll down. Oh no, it's 95 metres. Well, that's interesting. It seems to have two different heights. Maybe it's the roof that's retractable. We're going to work with the 95 metres. We'll take a look at the 86 too, but we're going to work with the 95 metres. And here's just, 95 metres, that's 312 feet, just so we're clear. This is an angular size calculator. The correct distance, which was 49,632 metres, something the size of 95 metres seen at that distance of 49 kilometres, 49.5 kilometres. The angular size is 0.1. Now remember where the main discussion was whether or not the restaurant was 0.04. Well, it turns out if you'd calculated the size of the Rogers Centre, you would have arrived at 0.1. I know this sounds, to me, when people talk about lots of mathematical, just repeat mathematical terms over and over, it sounds like word salad. Okay, so we're seeing here the Rogers Centre, approximately 0.1. The restaurant, simultaneously, approximately 0.04. Well, that can't be. You can't have both. It's an arbitrary choice to pick the restaurant over the Rogers Centre. Especially, as we've just seen, it's perfectly justifiable to take the Rogers Centre. You can take the Rogers Centre, you can see it, you know the distance to it. And the calculations, the calculations are justifiable. It's just the observations based on the calculation. Okay, now we're going to move to 86 metres and calculate. Just a tiny bit, 0.09. Okay, so again, 95 metres. So where Globlings, like Metabunk, let me scroll to where I show Metabunks here. Where Globlings do this, and they take the, move ahead, because this is in, I'm going to just bear with me as I scroll. Where Globlings just take and run with something that supports their globe, rather than double checking, verifying, is it really supported? Is the globe really supported by the observations, or do the observations bring a great big question mark to the globe? Well, it turns out they bring a great big question mark. Sorry, I'm scrolling through this video to find the part where I have Metabunk saying what the angular resolution is. I can't find it. In meters. I'm talking about, no. My Metabunk shows it in meters. Second. Poor Dim. So, but okay, I'll bring it to this. Forget Metabunk. Okay. If this is 0.1 and the sun is 0.5, that means the sun would be 5 times the height of the Rogers Centre. Let's do that on the screen. 1 would be here. 2, 3, 4, 5. The sun would be, the diameter would be approximately here. You see, you can't take observations of a city like this, dismiss the things that disprove your globe, that are there, that are visible, and work with things that support your globe tangentially. Not to like mock the term, you know, but like, dude, what are you doing? You have something that's 0.1. Okay, we see here, height of the Rogers Centre at that distance, the angular resolution. You see, this is what I'm saying, you can't verify. The angular resolution of the Rogers Centre, or the angular diameter, that would be the height of the Rogers Centre, would be 0.1. So when you come and you plot a line, just drop a line in the image like so, you say, what are you doing? That's meaningless. That line right now is playing the role of both 45 meters and 95 meters. That same yellow line. Do you understand? Am I coming through? Testing. Is this getting through to you, Polster X and the other Globelings? Are you getting it? Here, let me go over again how it's justified to use the Rogers Centre. Okay, let me showed it. It's gone undiscussed by the Globelings. This is just not being picked up as far as I see. But we see this with the Globelings. When something's really problematic to them, it's like, sorry, I'm busy. Or, I don't have to respond to every little objection by flat earthers. Here you see that using the height of the Rogers Centre is justified. It's a legitimate thing to do. The Rogers Centre is at the same distance as the restaurant. You don't know, we don't know. Is the Rogers Centre compressed or is the tower expanded? Each one is one or the other. Both ways, you have the Rogers Centre there. Whether you say it's compressed, I think it's compressed, or you say that it's not compressed. Some of the image is extended. You know, refraction. So here we have the Rogers Centre, and here we have the Rogers Centre. Whichever way you choose to do it, if you choose to extend it or contract it, we see using the height of the Rogers Centre is justified. Could use the size of some of the other buildings too. So this tells you that this is basically fantasy when it comes to things in the distance. Why is it fantasy? Because you can, if you're using something in the real world which you can arbitrarily choose to ignore, like here, you can arbitrarily choose to say, at that distance, an object this size, and I'll show you. Okay, look. If you say that the object is 45.75 meters, 0.52. That's very close to what Polster got. Say, oh, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. Let's go with 95 meters, because we also have 95 meters in the image. Oh, oopsies. The 95 meter thing really should be twice as big, which is why we know it's compressed. Okay, But how do you verify? You cannot verify this. You don't have a ruler that you can like look and go, oh, okay, when I compare the ruler to the thing, yeah, it's right. Because we're talking less than 1 degree. We're talking 0 degrees, point, so 0 point. You can't, there's no way you can verify. Never mind the restaurant, which is less than half of that. See? Polster X and other Globelings, please address this image. You've been avoiding it. This was an attempt to rescue the image. God, did you open a can of worms with that? Estimated auto level horizontal. Jeez, what the heck do you think you're doing? Like, really? Stupid. It is stupid. It's like, oh, okay, if we use the restaurant, then that's 0.04. Wonderful. If we use the Rogers Centre in the same image, then that's 0.1. 0.1. There. 0.1 if we use the Rogers Centre. 0.04 if we use the restaurant in the same image. But it can't be both. And this is one of the problems that the Globelinks truly don't understand. Those would be mutually exclusive elements. So on an image, having something that's 1 degree taking up the same something that's taking 0.1 degree, that's taking up the same space as something that's 0.04 degrees. You cannot have two things of different size being the same size. This is one of the simple concepts behind logical impossibilities. You cannot have two objects of the same size being different sizes, or conversely, two objects of different size being the same size. It's like, hello, you can't. But we see in this image that object's 45 meters, that object's 95, sorry. What is it that tells us it's the same size? Because looking at it, you can go, they look similar size, but obviously we can see this compression going on, so they're not, in the real world, they're not the same size. However, in the real world, the Rogers Centre is 0.1 at that distance, and the restaurant is 0.4 at that distance. There's a glitch there, and the glitch is the globe. See, the globe idea says the Rogers Centre at that distance, first, should not be visible. Second, being that it is visible at that distance, it means that the yellow estimated auto level horizontal is at 0.1 degree. No, it can't be. It can't be 0.1 and 0.4 at the same time. And what helps you establish its degree is what's visible. What's visible there? 95 meters. That's what's visible. The poor Globlings, they can't get it. What do I have here? Oh yeah, that's the theme for the start. They don't understand it. They don't get it. The poor, now I'm going to stop sharing and where is my thing? Here. Okay. What the poor Globlings can't get through their heads is that the earth is flat. As disquieting as it is for you, and listen guys, it's disquieting for everyone, okay? Nobody grows up in the West with the education system, then later on learn that it's actually flat and that the education system is all kinds of flawed, and go, oh, that's all right then. Nobody does that, okay? We all go through a, what? You're going to have to do that too. You don't want to, but you're going to have to. Or address this video and see how you justify it. Go ahead and justify seeing 95 meters of the Rogers Centre and what that works out in angular diameter. It's disquieting for you. Just 1 second, I'm looking for something. It's disquieting for you. I just realised that I just said that as if I was talking to somebody who'd said something. Oh, the voices. I have a really cool image from Genafredo of the same. Just a second. 1 second. Of the Rogers Centre again. Now, here's a question for you globe believers. You know, when you take images of Saturn or Jupiter, best thing to do is take a whole series of images. So you set your EQ mount to track Jupiter or Saturn in the sky. Okay, wonderful. And it takes an image every 30 seconds or every minute, however you set it, okay? Because what arrives, as we've all seen with the P900s, even when you focus it as best you can, is a shimmery image. When you stack those images together, you end up with an average of what was captured. And that's when you end up with Saturn and its rings and Jupiter all marvelous. What happens if you do that with the Toronto skyline? You're going to arrive with a much more detailed Rogers Centre, aren't you? You're going to arrive with a much more detailed tower, with a much more detailed cityscape. That's what you're going to have. Same as with the stars. Then it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to argue that that's not 95 meters. And you have to argue that. We can see it is, but you have to argue that it isn't. And when you're arguing against reality, here's what reality presents. And you say, no, it doesn't. That's a bad situation for you. Sorry, 1 second. I'm looking. Ooh, very cool videos. Just I have a message I hadn't seen earlier. It has some cool videos, but I'm going to find a photo by Genafredo. Now, this is just so cool. Here. Now, unfortunately, I can't expand it. I've expanded it as best I can. Wait, let me see if I can download it. Just give me a second, folks. Genafredo is so cool. I have to say, I've said it before, I say it again. Genafredo is cool. Come on. So I'm having a problem with my Facebook. Refresh. Jeez. Page sizing. Weirdness going on with my computer. Zoom in. Oh yeah, that's what I could do. Okay. Just figured that I could do something. Just give me a second while I set this up so I can show you the Rogers Centre taken by Genafredo again. The Globlings. Jeez. It's like, oh, okay, just project this line and say that that's horizontal auto level. Like, ooh, okay. Are you saying the horizontal auto level is at 0.1 degrees? No, it's the height of the restaurant's width. Oh, okay. What about the Rogers Centre? That's the problem for you. Right here. To expand like so. Then in. See what happens. Oh. Okay, forget it. I'm going to show you just the way I have it here. Just give me a second. I think I might have to open a new window. Let's see what this is showing. Oh, no. I am. Just give me a sec. I hope you're all doing well, by the way. It's a lovely day here today. Yes. Okay. Here you go. This image. I think I'm showing the right one. That image right there. You see that kind of dark greenish banding? What's that? A tree line. But can you see the dome of the Rogers Centre? Now that's a dome, isn't it? That's taken by Gianfredo too. Oh, right, so now I'll stop screen sharing that so I don't dox anyone or whatever. There. Globeans, dudes, you're going to have to face reality. You're going to have to accept you've been wrong. You've been wrong. Your teachers were wrong. Your parents were wrong. It doesn't matter. It only becomes a serious problem when you refuse to correct what's wrong. Making mistakes, that's how you learn. But refusing to correct mistakes, that's a bit of a problem. Oh. Now, if you were to take the angular size of the Rogers Centre and establish as a rule of thumb that that's the angular size at that distance and then compared the restaurant, you'd have a huge restaurant. You'd have a restaurant that's approximately 95 metres in diameter, and it isn't in the real world. But conversely, if you take the restaurant and you compare to the Rogers Centre, you'd have a Rogers Centre that's 45 metres tall, which it isn't. And you can fool yourself into saying, the other 45 is hidden. No, listen. Your globe says what's hidden is 132 metres. Okay, it's a problem for you guys. Or you could just face reality and see what you can actually see in the image and go, right, okay, that's how much we can see. That's interesting. And deal with it. Because, do you know what? What's already happening now, let me close windows, I'm finding things a bit distracting. What's happening now is that cosmology, your cosmology, is saying the universe is flat. You can twist your melon and go, it's flat but curved. No. Flat. The Earth is flat. Your cosmologists and your astrophysicists are literally saying the Earth is flat. The curvature, however, and they then explain for those few people who are going to pass away soon and are looking at astronomy and have got their world belief system, and it will be too difficult for them to deal with to drop that system. For them, the curvature, with observations, the curvature, the rotation, the observations show motion. That motion can be tracked with an object called the protractor that divides a circle for observations. That's only because that's the tool that was developed. If you developed a tool, I'll show you, I'll draw you a little tool right now. If you developed a tool with the same degrees, okay, I'm just going to do it quickly. From your point of observation, so that would be obs, that said this, and I'm going to try to divide it equally into, well, what would appear like simple degrees from Earth. Okay, the same degrees on a protractor. If you had a system that said this, I'm going to divide that in half. And half again. I just thought of this right now, otherwise I would have prepared earlier. Half again. Half again. I'm just, well, I'll show you for illustration purposes. Trying to make it as just on the hop now, trying to draw a tool that will show you degrees being exactly the same from an observation point on Earth, which is where all the observations are taken from. Don't fool yourselves into thinking they're taken from satellites out there in space. They're not. Right. A system like this, okay? These, and I've just done this now by eye, okay? This degree, the motion here is larger than here. If you had this system, and you're like, oh, right, so everything is on a flat thing moving across like so. It would be wrong, but it would match the observations. And not only that, but the protractor says this, things go across consistently, supposedly, okay, consistently, apart from when they got to the horizon, where they now slow down their progression in terms of degrees because of the compression, real compression. So you can't base your worldview on a tool made to observe the world. That's stupid. Why would somebody do that? If you thought that the Earth was a cylinder because you developed a tool for making observations based on a cylinder, that would be stupid. Well, that's what the Macedonians had. The guys who developed the Saros cycle inherited the information, basically stole the information from the previous group. This, a cylinder world. Oh, look, rotation. Oh, look, flatness. And they knew it was just a way of establishing locations of celestial objects in the sky. That's all. And the planisphere worked perfectly fine with them. In other words, if you use this and think that because you're using this, you live on a world where any direction that's a circle, you're stupid. It would be the equivalent to using this and saying, in these directions, flat, but in these directions, circle. It's just stupid. So stop being stupid. Stop believing stupid things. And your globe is absolutely stupid. Oh yes, the Foucault pendulum does this. The gyroscope doesn't. Foucault's gyroscope, I might add, doesn't. That was just quackery and charlatans, namely him. Cosmic Surfer in the chat. Yo. All right, you're saying good morning to everyone. Morning at all. Bong to the globe. Jeez Louise. Brandon Cook. Cool. Just think of it, folks, okay? You don't have to treat the globelings with kid gloves. Whatever the hell kid gloves are, okay? I don't know. But you don't have to treat them with kid gloves. You can slap them to wake them up. But as long as what you're doing is trying to wake them up and not just trying to rub their faces in it. I've tried to rub I've rubbed their faces in it in the past. But now I realise, like, they're struggling. They are massively struggling. They're saying, look, like, people like Rex Rhetoric, I've seen the ISS transit the moon. And a different guy saw the ISS transit the moon. And I'm going to show now what they did. Because it's just like, oh my gosh, really? You think that's okay? I'm going to show you. And this is for Polster X, who didn't say a word about this, by the way. Polster X likes geometry. I like geometry. It's cool. This is what they did. I'm going to put A and B, and that's the two observers. And between them, they think that what they described, if they were to draw out their observation, was something like this. I'm exaggerating, but they think that this is more or less what happened with their observation. Let me make sure that I'm describing showing every, right, yeah. Can you see? It's an isosceles triangle. A scalene, sorry. Okay, so there's no right angle there. Then they did this. You can take a triangle of this kind and make it into a right angle triangle, which you can. Okay, I'm going to do it right now. And this is literally what they did. It's like, oh my God, what the heck? Look, made it into two right angle triangles. Don't know if it's okay. Wonderful. Once they did this, and this is still justified, they then corrected it by placing the right angle line halfway between them, even though the midway point between them was not directly under the moon. Okay, so they then said, well, given that we've got this right angle triangle, and now I'm going to just by eye try and make it into a right. They said, so we can do this and make a calculation based on this. Forget that. Forget the real world observation. That's inconvenient. Can't do anything with that. So that's what they did. They just made up a different triangle. And having made up a different triangle, they said, therefore, our lines of sight were meeting at the moon, and the ISS transited both line of sight. Like, what fantasy world is this you're living in? You can't take a chicken pie and mix it with an apple pie and then say, so this peach pie that we have, like, the heck are you doing, dude? And that is what they did to justify their observation. They could, if they wanted, have taken the degrees, azimuth and elevation for both of them, but then they would have ended up with a triangle they definitely cannot use to triangulate either the moon or the ISS. So they didn't. They could have, but they didn't. And this is how you know that you're working with people that are suffering with the ideas that they're beholding. What kind of fool does that? Just makes that up and then works as if that was the truth. It's like, wow. First, just so we understand this. Ugh. And all of these details were shown by Rex Rhetoric, which is why I think this guy, the poor guy, is not, it's not that he's stupid, he's deluded. He's not stupid, he's deluded. He showed that this was the distance between A, B, and where the moon was directly transiting. So directly, the nadir for the moon's observation was right here. Just give me a second. have a visitor, so I will just deal with them a second. I will be straight back. Yes, please. Apologies for that, people. I had my mother come round, so I've put an episode of Northern Exposure, which she loves. I love it too. I don't know if there's anybody there. Let me refresh. I had a big deal with the computer. It was really strange. Oh yeah, there's some of you there. You did Bas. Shalom. I always say shalom. I always say shalom whenever I say hello to people. Federico Canta is in Brisbane too. I totally lost the thread of where I was. With the Globelings. They're going to have to... Oh yeah, well, I'm going to pick up here. The astronomers and the astrophysicists are saying the universe is flat and the Earth is flat. How do you think they're going to tell you that the Earth is flat? They're going to tell you the Earth is flat. And that's what they say. Your brain then translates it into, must be flat but round. Like, no, flat, like flat goes out horizontally, continuously. Not horizontally turning, just horizontally. Just think of this for those of you who like cosmology, okay? It's a starry night. You're out. You're looking at the stars. You're with your beautiful beloved, or your handsome beloved, whichever way you are. Male or female, I mean, not gay or straight. Anyway. Because gay or straight, excluded. You get out. Joking. Okay, so you see a star far off in the horizon. Beautiful. The light has taken millions, possibly billions of light years to get to you. So your brain thinks that star is very far away, that way. And the light has been making its way to you for a long time. That star might not even be there anymore. And the light is still arriving. That's what you think. Very far away, that way. And you stop and you go, oh, there's another star over there too. And that one also millions, possibly billions of light years away, that way. All of them. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. So all of them very far away from you in opposite directions. And can things be far away from you in opposite directions? Yes, they certainly can. Of course they can. Your door and your window or whatever, yeah. But these millions or billions of light years of light travelling towards Earth like this has the problem. Where's my whiteboard? The problem is Earth, light, actually do it like this. For the globe, you think that this is what's happening, more or less. That's you, you can look at it this way, it doesn't matter. Orient yourself however you choose. You're here, it's night time, okay? That's just 180 degrees. You think very far away that way, star, and that way, star. And light making its way to you from very far this way. But this whole thing is in motion. And that motion is in 3 distinct directions. That's if you don't include the Earth's rotation. Okay, so we're not including Earth's rotation. The Earth's rotation will be showing the stars scrolling across your skies. Okay, so forget Earth's rotation on its axis. However, that this way, however you've placed yourself here. You're here with your beloved. Oh, that looks like they're kissing. So, but all of this is in motion. And for the light to have arrived at you from millions or billions of light years away, it's not the case that those stars were in those directions and have been moving through the universe in sync with the Earth, consistently sending its light towards the Earth to eventually arrive. Those stars are moving in different directions. Some of those stars are towards the center of the Milky Way. Some are away from the center of the Milky Way. That's very different vectors. Some of those stars, in your cosmology, for the light to have taken that much time to get to you, must be down there somewhere, millions or billions of light years away, to have arrived at you, or to be available in the sky. This, or even that, the light path of the stars from millions or billions of light years away to reach you. Okay, are you seeing? There's no other way of showing it. Now, when you actually sit down with the spherical idea in mind and draw out the path of the light of the stars, you end up with either this kind of situation or the opposite, or this situation and that situation. For light path of any two stars, it looks very interesting, doesn't it? It could even be, well, if you choose to completely warp ideas, could it also be this type of shape for light paths arriving at the Earth? Now what I'm going to draw is an observer and the light path of the stars to the observer on the Earth on the flat plane. This here. You have two options, same as with the other. This shape or this shape. Where's the thing? Remember when I drew this? These are straight lines, as if light travels in straight lines. It doesn't. In fact, I'm going to go out and say it right now, it never does. This is what you have. This is a mathematical construct that has errors and adjustment for those errors. And this is the real world. You can choose to think of it like this, or you can choose to think of it the other way, which is this way. It depends what factors you think influence refraction. What does it look like if you model this subjectively on the flat Earth? It looks like you're inside a magnetic field, because we are inside a magnetic field. It looks that way. Now, the magnetic field that we're inside isn't just the magnetic field that can be picked up with magnetometers. There are gradations to it. There are different frequencies to it outside of what's detected by a magnetometer. Everything that we've been taught, everything that has been studied in a compartmentalized way. You can't compartmentalize if you don't have a point at which you stop registering. So we're going to measure from here to here, and we're gonna call ourselves nuclear physicists. Like, okay, that's it. You're not going to broaden that spectrum. And this is what happens with the world that we have now, which has developed this schizophrenic, fragmented view of the individual, of the whole, and of the entirety of the rest of existence. It's fragmented. It's fragmented in part because we started off this whole journey, this era of man started off traumatized. You can't come out of the caves after the last blending of days or the joining of suns, come out of the caves all happy and honky-dory. Unless you had warnings that it was going to happen, you then went into the caves, you then came out of the caves, and because you were pre-warned, you were expecting what was happening when the calamities were happening, then you came out, and then you continued ahead. What kind of mentality might you have then? The mentality the Chinese have, where everything is not fragmented. Now, the Chinese have the communist model for their society, but that's only because the Chinese, the mentality of the Chinese in China, I'm not talking about the Chinese that are westernized, the Chinese in China have the mentality of the community being the most important thing, whereas in the West we have the mentality that it's the individual that's the most important thing. Of the two, the community being the most important thing tends to be favored by, well living organisms. When you have the individual being the most important thing and the society as a secondary, first the individual, second the society, it's like, wait, if you say first the individual and the individual says, I want the society to call me there's a problem there. And that's what we have in the West. I'm not saying let's all be communist by any stretch of the imagination. Look into Wilhelm Reich, Man's Right to Know, and his familist counterpoint for communism and capitalism, the familist worldview, which is not so much the individual, but it's the individual family. Do what's best for your family. What's best for your family? To get on well with the family next door. That's what's best for your family. What does that mean? It means that the community is not secondary, but just as important as the family, because in that system, the family gets bigger. And I mean, not you have more members of your family. It means you encompass more people in your family. You consider more people your family. With that mentality, you arrive at the mentality of the Jews, which is Jewish family. Why are the Jews so hated? Because they tend to be successful and they tend to look after each other. Now, I've been to Israel several times, most of you know. I've seen the poor Jews. And I'm not seeing the Jews with pity. I mean, I've seen the Jews of Israel that are poor. There are poor Israeli Jews that are literally poor, that don't have money, that struggle. It's not like the community looks after everyone all the time, because they too have been fragmented by the Western mentality. And I say the Western mentality in terms of the negative Western mentality. There's positives to the Western mentality too. But one of the negatives is the idea of the individual being more important than anything else, and the idea that compartmentalizing is the best way to go ahead. It's like, no, it isn't. You end up with departments of universities that are supposed to be reaching the same goal, competing with each other. So now let's imagine the search for a cancer cure. You have two separate organizations working for a cancer cure. Do you think that they're helping each other? They've almost got it. These guys hear that they've almost got it. These guys know what they've got. They know that they've got a tiny thing that would tweak their thing and that's it, they'd have it. Do they give that to them? No, do they? Heck, because then they win. It's a different department. Hey, I just had a thought, by the way, yesterday. You've seen these water bear things? And this is just a thought, okay? You know these water bears? You know what? These tiny little microbial organisms, water bears, or tiny little piglet things, almost indestructible, like really, really hardy. They can live in sub-zero conditions, fine, and in very high temperatures, fine. It's like, these things are... If somebody genetically modified these things to have an appetite for candida, they would make a very good, well, cancer cure. And that's it. Just take them, genetically modify them so that they prefer cancer as their main source of nutrition. And there you go. But wait, what happens then? You inject somebody with these tiny little water bears, and they eventually find the cancer and they eat the cancer, great. And then they multiply, and then there's no more cancer. And then what happens? Do they just die? Or do they find the next best thing to cancer, which could be, I don't know, breast tissue, brain tissue, testicular tissue, and they go and eat those? So instead, maybe a good thing to do would be genetically modify them to have a preference first for cancer, and a second preference, like if there's no cancer available, the next best thing for them to eat is water bear. So when there's no cancer, they just consume each other until the point that there's just one of them left, and then that one can then on its own, maybe if it decides that it's going to start consuming human tissue, then it starts consuming human tissue. I don't know. Or maybe it just dies of loneliness. Anyway, there you go. Folks, I'm going to quit. I've enjoyed this. Pay attention to the Globelings, ignoring what's been covered here. Just pay attention to the Globelings, refusing to... We know that they watch, okay? We know 2 have watched this and given it a thumbs down already. But they're refusing to actually take on the... wait, I'm going to go back and replay it. What I'm going to do before I go, because I know some of you joined late, I'm going to replay this part. Just a second. This. So bear with me. I'm going to do that ultra lazy thing, which is replay the very hangout that you're watching right now. Let me see if this is the window. Nope. Let me see if this is the window. Nope. Okay. Just bear with me while I open another window to display the hangout that you're watching, an earlier part of it. And then I can join you in the chat. I love doing that. Okay. Oh. I don't know if you can hear the TV. It's, I love Northern Exposure. if any of you guys don't know what it is, it was a program from the 90s. It was just then interesting. There was elements of obviously elements of propaganda that crept in. Right here, there you go. I'm going to play this with volume, and I'm going to stay quiet and chat with you all. Right. Let me see. Right. No. Of the Rogers Centre. I'm going to play it without the audio. And this is me taking the image and uncompressing it. The fact that I'm uncompressing it doesn't mean... Sorry folks, just a second. I just realised, Dagnabbit. Oh no, never mind. I'll carry on playing it. Wait, yeah. The Rogers Centre is not visible. It means it was visibly compressed. And later, when I take the image on the right and compress that image, we see the Rogers Centre reaches the same height as the previous image. So both uncompressing an image shows you, yes, we do see the entirety of the Rogers Centre, and compressing the image, where we can clearly see the Rogers Centre, shows us that, yes, we still see the Rogers Centre. Okay? Let me just move ahead a little bit to where, there you go, there's the Rogers Centre, that dome, on the right. When you compress that image, you see the Rogers Centre as you saw it previously, in the previous compressed image. Watch. Just moving ahead. Guess you didn't see it already. There you go. Okay, that's what happens when you compress the image on the right. We can see the entirety of the Rogers Centre. This is the important part. Now, this is an angular size calculator. I've set the height or the size of the Rogers Centre as 95 metres. I kept working with a 93 metre figure that I got from somewhere. But it turns out, oh look, what's the height of the Rogers Centre? 86 metres. Oh, is it? Let's scroll down. Oh no, it's 95 metres. Well, that's interesting. It seems to have two different heights. Maybe it's the roof that's retractable. We're going to work with the 95 metres. We'll take a look at the 86 too, but we're going to work with the 95 metres. And here's just, 95 metres, that's 312 feet, just so we're clear. This is an angular size calculator. And the correct distance, which was 49,632 metres, something the size of 95 metres, seen at that distance of 49 kilometres, 14.5 kilometres, the angular size is 0.1. Now remember where the main discussion was whether or not the restaurant was 0.04. Well, it turns out if you calculated the size of the Rogers Centre, you would have arrived at 1. 0.1. I know this sounds, to me, when people talk about lots of mathematical, just repeat mathematical terms over and over, it sounds like word salad. Okay, so, we're seeing here the Rogers Centre, approximately 0.1. The restaurant, simultaneously, approximately 0.04. Well, that can't be. You can't have both. It's an arbitrary choice to pick the restaurant over the Rogers Centre, especially as we've just seen, it's perfectly justifiable to take the Rogers Centre. You can take the Rogers Centre, you can see it, you know the distance to it. And the calculations, these calculations are justifiable. It's just the observations based on the calculation. Okay, now we're going to move to 86 metres. I'll calculate. Just a tiny bit, 0.09. Okay, so again, 95 metres. Globlings just take a run with something that supports their globe rather than double checking, verifying. Is it really supported? Is the globe really supported by the observations, or do the observations bring a great big question mark to the globe? Well, it turns out they bring a great big question mark. Sorry, I'm scrolling through this video to find the part where I have Metabunk saying what the angular resolution is. Can't find it. In meters, I'm talking about. The Metabunk shows it in meters. So, okay, I'll bring it to this, forget Metabunk. Okay. If this is 0.1 and the sun is 0.5, that means the sun would be 5 times the height of the Rogers Centre. Let's do that on the screen. 1 would be here, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sun would be, the diameter would be approximately here. You see, you can't take observations of a city like this, dismiss the things that disprove your globe, that are there, that are visible, and work with things that support your globe tangentially. Not to like mock the term, you know, but like, dude, what are you doing? You have something that's 0.1. Okay, we see here, height of the Rogers Centre at that distance, the angular resolution. You see, this is what I've said. You can't verify the angular resolution of the Rogers Centre, or the angular diameter. That would be the height of the Rogers Centre. Would be 0.1. So when you come and you plot a line, just drop a line in the image like so. He's like, what are you doing? That's meaningless. That line right now is playing the role of both 45 meters and 95 meters. That same yellow line. Do you understand? Am I coming through? Testing. Is this getting through to you? Poster X and the other Globlings. Are you getting it? Here, let me go over again how it's justified to use the Rogers Centre. Okay, let me showed it. It's gone undiscussed by the Globlings. This is just not being picked up as far as I see. But we see this with the Globlings. When something's really problematic to them, it's like, sorry, I'm busy. Or, I don't have to respond to every little objection by flat earthers. Here you see that using the height of the Rogers Centre is justified. It's a legitimate thing to do. The Rogers Centre is at the same distance as the restaurant. You don't know, we don't know. Is the Rogers Centre compressed, or is the tower expanded? Which one it is, one or the other? Both ways, you have the Rogers Centre there. Whether you say it's compressed, I think it's compressed, or you say that it's not compressed. Some of the image is extended. You know, refraction. So here we have the Rogers Centre, and here we have the Rogers Centre. Whichever way you choose to do it, you choose to extend it or contract it. We see using the height of the Rogers Centre is justified. Could use the size of some of the other buildings too. So this tells you that this is basically fantasy when it comes to things in the distance. Why is it fantasy? Because you can, if you're using something in the real world which you can arbitrarily choose to ignore, like here, you can arbitrarily choose to say, at that distance, an object this size, and I'll show you. Okay, look. If you say that the object is 45.75 meters, 0.52. That's very close to what Polster got. Say, oh, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. Let's go with 95 meters, because we also have 95 meters in the image. Oh, oopsies. The 95 meter thing really should be twice as big, which is why we know it's compressed. Okay. But how do you verify? You cannot verify this. You don't have a ruler that you can like look and go, oh, okay, when I compare the ruler to the thing, yeah, it's right. Because we're talking less than 1 degree. We're talking 0 degrees, point. So 0 point. You can't, there's no way you can verify. Never mind the restaurant, which is less than half of that. See? Polster X and other globe links. Please address this image. You've been avoiding it. This was an attempt to rescue the image. God, did you open a can of worms with that? Estimated auto level horizontal. Jeez, what the heck do you think you're doing? Like, really? Stupid. It is stupid. Like, oh, okay, if we use the restaurant, then that's 0.04. Wonderful. If we use the Rogers Centre in the same image, then that's 0.1. 0.1. There. 0.1 if we use the Rogers Centre. 0.04 if we use the restaurant in the same image. But it can't be both. And this is one of the problems that the globe links truly don't understand. Now, going from problems that the globe links truly don't understand, I'm going to cover something for Dim Dim in the chat. First, I'm going to start with this. One of the episodes I most remember of Sesame Street was two of the puppets walking. So I'm going to do hands. Should I get some socks and do it with socks? Yes, just bear with me. I'm going to get some socks for the globe links. Okay, it goes something like this. This is for the globe links. So, maybe you will understand if I show you with, well, puppets and puppetry. Okay, so, so this was Sesame Street, and it was two puppets. This is to explain the moon and how it looks differently oriented from different hemispheres, or indeed the same hemisphere at different times, dawn or dusk, or you know what I mean. So, here you have one puppet. And it was like this. One puppet and another puppet. They enter the frame. Wait. Hey there! Hey there! What do you mean? What do you mean there? I'm not there. I'm here. No, You're not here. I'm here. You're there. No, I'm here. You're there. No, back and forth. See? Subjective versus objective. I'm here is true. I'm here is true. You're there is true. You're there is true. You see? Now. Jeez. Wait, I have a message. Okay. Here we have the moon. I'm going to hold it like so. And I can do the same here and there thing. Okay. This is how I'm going to do it. Oh, I see the moon. The area closest to me is dark. The area furthest away from me is light. I'm in the northern hemisphere, let's say. Now I'm going to go to the southern hemisphere. Hey, now the side nearest me is light, and the side farthest away is dark. Farthest away is dark. Farthest away is light. It's upside down from... Okay, do you understand? All I did was change my location. Same as with the puppets. They were in different locations. The world seemed very different to them. To this one, he was here and the other one was there. From this one, he was here and the other one was there. Do you understand? Let me do it again. This time, instead of north and south, we're going to say sunrise and sunset simultaneously. So somebody looking at the moon at sunrise, while somebody's looking at the moon at sunset. Do you see what I just did with my fingers? Opposite directions? Okay, so now look, I'm going to do it with my head. Take my nose as a pointer. It's quite an obvious pointer. Okay, take my nose as a pointer. Which way is my nose pointing? Oh, the point closest to my nose is the dark. I don't change the moon. I just... Which point is closest to my nose now? The light. And I know that you globelings say, Antonio, you know, if you weren't quite so condescending, like what? You think if I wasn't quite so condescending, you would go, oh, the earth is flat, because that guy wasn't condescending. There have been lots of not condescending flat earthers. Eric Dubay is a non-condescending flat earther. Does that mean that all you globelings have watched an Eric Dubay video and gone, oh dear, so the earth is flat because he said it in a non-condescending way? Do you see? What's the name of the guy in the chat? Keith Mays. Keith Mays writes, oh gosh. Antonio, that was pathetic, even hilarious. Such ignorance and stupidity is too much. Bye-bye, morons. Have fun deluding yourselves. The poor Dim Dim. He thinks that what's happening is the same. Oh, this is just so precious. Right. He thinks that what's happening is this. Instead of this and that, it's this, okay, up versus down. Oh, even though between point A and point B, anybody measuring the land would find it's flat. Okay, go here. Flat, go here. So, Cosmic Surfer and Gleam, we're writing about Japan and Australia. So, okay, I'm in Japan. You're in Australia. I'm going to measure from my point. Oh, seeing the moon, okay, is over the Tropic of Capricorn. So, it's to my south and to their north. Wonderful. They're in southern Australia. Great. I'm going to measure the land, or the ocean, between me and southern Australia. flat, 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 flat. Great. Now I'm going to go back. Flat, 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 flat. Not flat like this. No, flat like the astronomers and the astrophysicists say. Flat. Oh, there's the moon. Today the moon has the light side over there, closest to the computer. Flat, 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 flat. Oh, from here, the moon's light side is over there, closest to the computer. Opposite, opposite. Oh, poor. Guys, I swear to God, I go from one extreme to the other. I want to just grab globelings and throttle some sense into them, shake some sense into them, but also I want to hold their shoulders and say, dude, you'll be all right, and reassure them and explain to them that they're being really stupid, and if they carry on being stupid, they're making a mistake. Stop being stupid. Start being not stupid. Start seeing the world as it is. Reassuringly. I swing between the two. Now I'm going to look in the chat. Conscious, just use your overhead lights. It's lit up like a moon. Yes, I could. But, yeah, I don't have enough space there. That graphic was good enough. Right, so Gleam writes, if you do the trig on a 40-mile wide sun at 4,000 miles, the mass is dead close to what we observe. If you account for spherical perspective distortion, it will match. Yes. Now, if you do it at 20 miles wide and 2,000 miles, it will match too. If you do it at 10 miles and 1,000 miles, it will match too. I did this earlier. I prepared something earlier. I hope I haven't closed it. No, I haven't closed it. Okay. Right. Just give me a second. I'm going to share and then I will wrap up because I need to go and collect my daughter. Yes, Gleam, you're right. But look into it more. Just carry on. Just carry on. And you'll see it's like, oopsies. This is why I was objecting to the doubling of the distance rather than halving the distance. You could halve the distance. Now, wait. You just have to halve the object. Right, where am I? Here. Right, just bear with me. I'm going to show you a diagram. On display. Where is it? Just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Here. Now this has not been done. I haven't drawn this out absolutely meticulously. I've just drawn it by eye. Okay. A is the object, and B is the distance. To establish the angular diameter of the object, you take the distance by half the object. Okay. You arrive at this. Okay. So this would be your angle. That's if you're halving the object. Okay, so this, what I'm showing with my cursor, would be half the object. Now, if you half the distance and half the object again, so that's a quarter of the object, you have this. It's the same degree. And you can continue to do this. You can then half the object again and half the distance, and you can continue to do this until the point, because we're talking with degrees, until the point that you arrive at 0.0 5 degrees. You could continue to do it further, but there's no point. True story. Like, you really can. So this is why I was objecting, bringing attention to this doubling of the distance. We're talking observable reality. If you have an image that is resolving something at a specific distance, and you then say, look, if we double the distance, then we can dismiss what's seen and we can just work with concepts alone. At double the distance, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. At double the distance, the object, yes, it's half its size. It's not. It's actually a little bit more than half its size, but let's pretend like it isn't. And it's a lot more diffuse, and you really wouldn't be able to see it, all kinds of stuff. But this idea that you can just make things more distant because of the image on the screen. You can then double. You can do what I just did, which was go into smaller in a fractal way, okay? Or you can make it bigger, but it's still going to be the same degree. So why not use the sizes that we have in the real world? We really have a real distance to the tower, to the restaurant. We're looking at its diameter, so we're going to take half its diameter and work on that. But with the real distance, half its diameter versus the real distance. If you take its full diameter and double the distance, like, wait a second, you're now saying the distance is irrelevant. And with the sun and the observations, it's the same thing. It's arbitrary to say this size. You can bring it much closer and make it much smaller. In fact, you can bring it to the point where, well, it's 1 millimeter away and it's half a degree. True story. Right, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for your time. And I will, let's move this. I'm going to do 2 things. First, I'm going to say, I'll see you again soon. And second, I'm going to say, thank you very much to Barry Sheen. Just 1 second, Mum. Just 1 second. Barry Sheen, new patron. Now, last thing. I had a crazy dream last night. Okay, it was kind of a cool dream because I woke up going, wait, did I dream that or did it really happen? Because it was a very kind of ordinary dream, other than I was on YouTube doing stuff and I saw a comment from Rose Namajunas. She'd written a tweet. Rose Namajunas is a really cool MMA fighter who had her atlas bone readjusted by being dropped on her head, and she now doesn't get migraines and all kinds of other things that she had. Okay, just really interesting. Atlas bone. Look at the Atlas Prophylax. Rose Namajunas writing about somebody being a dim-dim. Okay, I thought, ha. And then Joe Rogan. Look at all these dim-dims, and I thought, these guys are watching my channel. They're watching this channel. It was a dream. Okay, they might be watching it. I don't know. They'll have to text dim-dim to see. But yeah, and if not, if they're watching Globlin channels and they're using dim-dim, it's like, you're welcome, Globlies. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. I will see you later. Bye.